All right, everyone, welcome to Jessica Payne Live. It looks like we may have had some technical glitches, but welcome back. If you can see or hear me, welcome. We're talking about how to blog without writing, and it looks like we've got some people joining us. Very exciting. Come sit down. It looks like we have some beautiful souls. It looks like we've got Saria, we've got Carinder, and we've got, who else do we have? Teresa. All right. Well, today I'm talking about how to blog without writing, and it has to do with sort of this love-hate relationship I have with creating content. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about writing? Raise your hand. I have a love-hate relationship with it. Any sort of required writing, I think we tend to bristle at, and it kind of leaves us scratching our heads when it comes to creating content. So, hey, Teresa, how are you? We had some technical glitches this morning. I teach a course called Live Show Mastery. It seems like every other time we try to go live on the interwebs, there's a technical glitch, but it sounds like you can hear me okay. Teresa, can you drop me a quick comment to let me know you can see and hear me? Then I will be totally fine. For those of you joining me, welcome to Jessica Payne Live. I'm Jessica Payne. I'm your host. I'm live every single week, Tuesdays, 8 a.m. Pacific on Facebook, but you may be listening or watching me on other channels. So if you're over on the podcast, watching me on YouTube, or maybe even starting to catch me over on Instagram, thank you for that. Always hit subscribe, and definitely don't forget to hit in the comments what you want me to talk about. Every week, I always say real is greater than perfect, but my focus is just how to run a business, social media, branding, hopefully me helping you save time and a couple of headaches when it comes to creating smart social media content so that you can do, I don't know, what you'd rather be doing, which is running your business and building a great brand. Thanks. Teresa says she can hear me. Fantabulous. I love you guys. Teresa, you guys, she's an educator. She's awesome. If you need any help when it comes to kind of working with kids, she's got a ton of knowledge. Dwayne Richards is in the house, CPA, my Canadian friend. If you want, he's sort of got a whole bag of tricks. How you doing, Dwayne? He is, financial advisor. And he's also interested in kind of he's a great resource when it comes to just being mindful. Thanks for joining, Dwayne. Who else can I give a shout out? You guys are great. So I'm talking today about how to blog without writing. If that was a long-winded way to get into the intro, that's because we're just kind of running things a little willy-nilly here today. So how to blog without writing. I opened at the top of the show talking about this love-hate relationship we have with this thing. I tell my clients all day, you need to blog. I hate doing it. Hate's a strong word. I don't like doing it, but I've come up with a few strategies that I want to knock out today that I want to share with you that save me a ton of time, and then also maybe give you just some creative ideas so that at the end of the day, if you've got a couple of ideas you can go away with that helps you actually churn out content easier, I've done my job. Because we all know blogs help. Blogs are quite often the most active, newer, most powerful area of a website in terms of SEO purposes. That's where you're churning out the new stuff. In addition, I would say, to social media content. And it's what tends to be the first step I have learned when it comes to businesses taking a step into the marketing world. They're like, well, I need to start a blog. Typically, if you're like me, you jump into it and then you get overwhelmed and then you just kind of run out of ideas. So I'm here to tell you that there are other ways to blog without writing, not to confuse the fact that there is absolutely still a welcome need for long form writing. On the weekend, I'm reading medium.com. I'm reading the Washington Post. I'm reading all sorts of blogs from media and non-media. So there's still a place for that. But when it comes to actually blogging, I don't want to write. Okay, so how about I dive in? I get you guys some tips. Teresa, I see your comment. I need to learn how to use Instagram video. Girl, I got you. I've written that down. I'm going to talk about it. We do cover that in the course, just so you know, Live Show Mastery. But we will definitely talk about video. Jump over to Instagram, which I should mention. And this is, now we're going to jump into the actual content of the show. Every week, I'm shortening my show. It's going to be 30 minutes. We're going to cut off at 8:30. And then if you want to jump and join me over on Instagram, I'm just going to do a quick highlight reel of the show. How's that sound? So Teresa, you can probably learn how to do video there. All right, so what are some ideas? What are some ways that I have started to blog without writing? first and foremost, the thing that has kind of been the killer app for me, the easiest thing for me is automation. That's the big A word. People kind of wonder what it is. What I do, and this doesn't mean you have to start a live show to blog. I'm not about creating work, but this is what I do week on week. I don't write a single word or sentence for my blog. Now, this is by choice. I'm not saying you shouldn't write. I should probably write more, but when it comes down to prioritizing my time and creating content, I've set up a little system in place that at least allows my blog to have new content week on week, week after week. And that's really important for SEO. So I'm saying, like, don't forget to nurture your blog, feed your blog, water your blog, because from an SEO standpoint, search engine optimization, it's a really powerful tool. It brings content, traffic, it brings engagement back to your site, and that's what you want. What I do every week is this show, Jessica Payne Live. I go live and I've set up a few tools, automated tools. One's called Simple Social Press, which I've mentioned on the show before, and I'll link to in the comments, that essentially turns each live stream on Facebook. This is what this app was designed to do, and it moves it automatically over to my blog. So if you go to jessicapayne.us/blog, I'll link to it in the comments in the description, and you look at my blog right now, you'll see every single live Jessica Payne Live episode kind of archived there on my blog. It's a really smart tool. Again, I'll link to it in the comments if this tickles your fancy. I know some of you live stream. I know some of you use this tool, so it's not news to you, but perhaps it's news to people tuning in for the first time. If you don't like to write and you have a live show, you really need to use a tool like Simple Social Press. I'm not a paid affiliate, by the way, to automate. I want you to start to think automation. Are there tools out there that can repurpose the content you're already spending a tremendous amount of time and energy creating that frankly is stronger content than a blog, and moves them over automatically to your blog? Before, I was sort of moving in the YouTube video, writing a blurb, writing a blog post, uploading the blog. This app actually takes all of that manual labor out. So tomorrow, if you hit refresh, you're going to see this episode. Sometimes it's within even the same day. And I'm telling you, the value of it, it's not even that expensive. I think it's like the cost of a dinner, a dinner out. But the time it saves me, and I know every week, as long as I have a weekly live show, I've got a blog post sitting there. I don't even need to touch it. It's saving me time. I don't have to come up with another idea. And I can also go back and edit the same blog post, maybe make it a little longer or point to certain articles. That is probably my best kept secret that I basically revealed to you. If you have a live show, you really need to invest in a tool that automatically turns that content or moves that content, repurposes that content over on your blog. More people prefer to watch video these days anyway. So do yourself a favor and don't recreate the wheel. And the beautiful thing is I literally do not write one single word of copy for a blog post. Yet every week I have a new blog post. It's great. And I've gotten a lot of feedback. People like my blog because it's interactive, engaging, and it's kind of like an archive for my content. All right, what are we saying here? Robert Stern, hey, blog it, baby. Robert Stern, he also is a great creator of content. Robert Stern, Social Power. So Robert, I'm talking about how to blog without writing, this love-hate relationship we have with creating content. We have businesses to run. We don't have time to be scratching our heads and worrying about content. Look, when you have that third cup of coffee like me, or maybe that late evening cocktail and you feel inspired to write, do it. But 99% of the time, you're probably worried about doing everything else, running your life, running your business, and you just might not have that time to create content. So what are some other ideas how to blog without writing? A couple of things. Now, again, knowing what we know, if there's any excuse like not to think beyond writing, just lean on social media stats. More people prefer, video engages 10 times more, imagery engages 3 times more than written content on social media. What does that tell you about how we prefer to read and consume content? If your blog has video in it, or a second idea, which is images, just create an image gallery. I've got clients right now that they are performers, they're artists. I'm like, your content is visual. You're already out there using social media to capture your performances, to capture your workshops. Just use that as a blog post. Because again, if you think about the purpose of the blog, you're inviting the outside in, right? It's your opportunity to sort of, if your website is sort of your house in the curb appeal, the blog is you opening the door and bringing your neighbors in and kind of getting to know them and inviting them in, taking a few risks, but it's your opportunity to get your personality out there in a narrative in a way that you can kind of control and do. So make it visual. I mean, that's sort of my second tip. Use an image gallery. Go take your last 2 to 3 to 5 images that you took probably on your smartphone or posted already on your social media channels for your business, turn that into a blog post. Describe what you're doing. Is it a sale? Were you out somewhere demoing something with clients? Maybe you just had a day where you spent it alone and it helped you refresh. These are some of the best, my most favorite blog posts to read, because I'm learning, like, I have friends who are CEOs, but then I learn how they work out or how they take time away to be with their family, or I learn about one of their kids' graduations, or I learn about a groundbreaking, or, you know, a new office. Like, the behind the scenes stuff, that's what a blog is great about. And an image gallery immediately takes people in, and who doesn't like to look at a bunch of images? Again, images engage 3 times more than just written content. Teresa's saying, what I need to do is start building my website up. I need to connect my podcast to my website and my blog. I don't have any updating content there. This is exactly what I'm talking about, Teresa. So what do we say? When we recognize something, we have clarity, then we can create an action, we can move forward. This is beautiful. You're recognizing that. You're already creating original content. Your blog doesn't have to be where you start to create. Your blog can literally just be a mouthpiece, a bullhorn. One more way to repurpose what you're already creating. And when I say that, I kind of relax a little, because like creating new content gives me a little bit of anxiety. But again, I think one of the reasons we love and hate our blog is we think that's where the content creation has to begin. And that's not necessarily true. Your blog can really just be an echo chamber, because you're creating content. You just said you have a podcast. Why don't you take the next couple of weeks to really just dive into your podcast, maybe throw in a couple of visuals there, maybe a couple images, or maybe if you have a few downloads to support what you're already doing on the podcast, make your next handful of blog posts about your podcast. You know, create a highlight reel, if you will, of your latest podcast episodes and link to them, because people would rather listen to content than read it. Visual, listen, read, in that order. Why don't you do that? Boom. For the next 4 weeks, take your last couple of podcast episodes and dissect them into 4 bits and make those 1 weekly blog post for the next 4 weeks. And it doesn't have to be long, just a paragraph and link to your podcast, because at the end of the day, if your podcast kind of sings your content and your brand easier than a blog post ever did, don't feel like you have to recreate the entire thing on the blog. Is that helpful? I'm so fired up about this because I know it can save you guys a ton of time and worry. Robert C. Stern is saying Instagram stories, download your day, and that can be a video blog. I'm not sure what you're asking, Robert, but if you can expand on that, I can definitely chat about it. I love Instagram stories, you guys. So Facebook has stories and Instagram has stories. I've talked about this in other shows. You can create little, I call them vignettes, either video or photo or text, kind of like an animated slideshow. You can create whatever you want. You can upload photos, whatever. They expire after 24 hours, but you can save them to your camera roll. Sometimes I use them to supplement my my other content, and it's great because if you log into Instagram or Facebook on your mobile app, the first thing you see is who's live and stories. So they are highly, highly engaging. That's a whole other kind of conversation, but that's a great idea to repurpose content. And I do teach how to do that in my course, Live Show Mastery. All right, what are some other ways to blog without writing? We've talked about repurposing content, which honestly, every marketer out there is all about repurposing. So if you want the 2018, 2019 idea, repurpose the content you're already producing and repurpose it like 25 different ways. That is the strategy. Like, I should probably not reveal that, but that's honestly that is the strategy this year. It's not about creating more. It's repurposing what you already have, because chances are it's probably best the first time. And then just being smart about the channels and the platforms you're using, knowing what people prefer to engage with. Robert, you're saying when you make your stories, you can download them, put them together, and that is a video blog. Ah, I see what you're saying. So Robert's talking here about repurposing, you guys. So again, let's say you don't have a live show, but you do stories. Maybe you do Instagram stories, you do Facebook stories. Great idea from Robert here. Download them to your camera roll. Super, super simple. You just click on that ellipsis in the top right of your smartphone, at least for iOS, for iPhone. Download it, save it to your camera roll, and boom, there's your image gallery. There's your video for your blog. Again, you've already created it, so just remember to reuse it. Does that help? Robert, did I nail it there? Great, great, great idea. Again, repurposing. All right, what are some other ways that you can do? There are some ideas that have come in and out. Some are kind of trendy. There's sort of filler content. You can put up some motivational quotes. You can put up a Spotify playlist. These are all great. I don't tend to hang my hat on them, though, because I think these are great kind of supplement posts. These shouldn't be your primary posts, but they are great ways. And sometimes I like to see celebrities who put up a Spotify playlist or brands I follow, like what are they listening to on a Friday? Those are great sort of Friday blog posts, but I see them really as filler. So, a gallery of motivational quotes, maybe on a certain holiday or recognized day. What's on your Spotify playlist and why? But only blog about that, if it makes sense for your brand. If you're a bank, probably don't want to put a Spotify, like it wouldn't make sense. Or if you, but if you are a blogger, a designer, maybe you're a realtor, and we all know like realtors, like the weekend for realtors is like Monday, Tuesday. So like if you've got like a hustle Spotify playlist and you're a realtor, you can have a lot of fun with that. Bring your personality out in your blog. And if your Spotify playlist legit expresses your personality, guys, 80% of consumers want to buy from brands they trust and follow on social media. Your Spotify playlist is such a great lens into your personality. So if that helps and makes sense for your brand, blog about it. It's super easy. I think now if you're right in Spotify, you just hit the share button and you can share it like 5 different ways. Robert's saying nailed it. Thanks, Robert. Robert, do you enjoy blogging? Be honest. It seems like when I ask people if they enjoy blogging, they either really hesitate or they have a very strong answer right away. And I know people that love to blog. I'm just, I'm trying to save you some time here, guys. Again, if you're just joining me now, it's how to blog without writing. I'm trying to save you time and headaches every week. I'm trying to give you some ideas that have worked for me and that I've rounded up across the interwebs to get you back to blogging, continuing to blog. Maybe you put it down for a while. If I didn't have my live show, I probably wouldn't blog. Like full on confession, you guys. What are some other ideas? How to blog without writing. So we talked a little bit about podcasts. Teresa, you had that great idea. If you have a podcast, if you're creating content on any other channel, that should be primary key blog content. Your blog is like your town newspaper for your brand. You want to make sure be the herald for all the content you're doing. And you can do that in a way that's not totally self-promotional. But if you have a podcast or if you have snippets or sound bites, one trend I'm seeing is people will blog their podcast, and then what they'll do is they'll take out a couple of sentences, sound bites, 20 to 30 snippets of that. And you can do that with like GarageBand, I think, legit on your Mac at least. Or there are even some apps out there where you can actually put in your audio file and you can actually extract certain sound bites. People read a quick blog post. Maybe you have a funny moment. Maybe you have like a mic drop moment of your podcast. That can be like the headline of your latest blog post. That takes a little bit more time, but what I'm trying to get you to understand is like you've already created the content. Go back to what you've created. Pull out the high points, the high notes. That could be a whole series of blog posts. Maybe, and then at the end of a month, you could do a roundup. Boom. There's a couple of ideas. Guido, thanks for joining, Guido. I've seen you on other shows. I appreciate it. You've got a great post here. Yay. Guido loves blogging. Okay, so blogging can be cool, you guys. You can actually love it. Enough ideas on content and not enough time to keep blogging consistently. All right, so yeah, I mean, I think Well, the point of this show, Guido, that's a really good point. The point of this show is really to get people back to blogging, which is why the focus of today's episode is really on just content ideas. But you're right. One of the things that I do to help me blog consistently are, well, one is I have a weekly show, so that keeps me consistent. Are there things you can build into your weekly life running your business and get ahead to make sure that you're constantly on the lookout or creating blog content? Some really in the weeds tactics I do is I set an Outlook email reminder every week, same day, same time. So it literally pops up on my computer. You can use other like management software, or you can even send yourself like set your alarm on your smartphone. Do whatever you need to do, knowing how you work, to remind yourself to first think about blogging. And then a couple of days later, I actually have another reminder that pops up because I get busy that makes sure that I'm focused on developing that idea. Now, because I have a weekly show, I don't have to be so strict on this, but this helps me create content in general. Creates content for my course that I know I need to churn out every week because I have toolkits that come out every month. If you struggle to stay consistent with blogging, set reminders and set little goals week on week. And I would invite you to think a month out so that every week you're not scrambling to come up with content. And again, think themes and how you can create different moments in time or different touch points for those themes. I've talked about this for podcast ideas, for show ideas. You can use the same for blog ideas. So we're going into summer at the time of this airing. And, right now, if you are in the retail space, you might want to think about, what's consumer behavior shifting to now? We want to be outside more, days are longer. What is our lifestyle? We probably don't want to be cooped up. We probably want to be on the go. How does that fit with your brand or the story or the narrative that you want to tell? For the next 4 weeks, create a theme around summer, however that means to your brand, and then create 4 ways to dive into that. So Guido, that would be kind of a way I would encourage people to get consistent. The easiest way to be consistent is to create a plan. And if you put the time in advance to plan out, then the thinking can kind of be accomplished, and you can focus more on approaching it from a step-by-step standpoint. So if you are daunted by blogging, or maybe you're blogging great for 3 weeks and then you get exhausted, create a plan, and that can help maybe with coming up with themes and then specific topics for each theme. What are some other ways to blog without writing? You could interview. You could do interviews. I do interviews on my show sometimes when I have guests. If you have a podcast, there's your interview. You can dissect that in 10 different ways. You can pull quotes from that. You can maybe do a roundup if you host a show. If you do an interview that's more traditional, maybe you actually sit down and you interview. I have clients in the B2B space. They might be interviewing medical professionals or lighting professionals or designers. That content to your audience matters too. So can you dissect that 4 to 5 different ways, maybe give it a broad theme, and for the next 4 to 5 weeks, boom, there are your weekly blog posts, and you hit on the theme. So interviews are great. And, record them on your smartphone, dump the audio into something like Temi to transcribe so you don't have to write. And I'll link to Temi in the comments. Again, I'm trying to get you to blog without writing. Interviews are great. And then you have an audio file, again, people can listen to, all that good stuff. Guido's saying, true, I use CoSchedule to keep me on track. Beautiful. So guys, check out CoSchedule from Guido. It sounds like it's a great scheduler. I think there's so many software platforms out there. It can be a little daunting, right? But I always like referrals, so I'm definitely going to check out CoSchedule just because, Guido, you said so. Robert's given out some ideas: planning summer barbecue, enjoying summer, cleaning up after summer. These are all great creative ideas for the blog. So guys, it's 8:30 and I have to follow my own rules. I'm going to do a couple more ideas and then I'm going to sign off. And then if you want to join me over on Instagram, I'm legit just going to run through the highlight reel of the show, and I will definitely link to it in my post. If you're on Instagram, you can just look me up, jpaynebu. Here is my handle. You can follow me now. It's right in the comments, you guys, because I'm going to jump now and behave my own rules, follow my own rules. A couple of last minute ideas. Do a slide deck, do a slide share. If you've created an infographic, share the heck out of that and dissect it 5 different ways. Again, you've already written this content. You've already created this content. You could blog about it without writing. How does that sound? That was a lot of ideas. We had some content ideas and some scheduling ideas, but hopefully now it's a little less daunting. And if you're like Teresa, if you're like Robert, if you're like Guido, maybe you already have some systems in place that you just need to tweak. It keeps you blogging. So maybe, Guido, we can all get to the point where we love blogging like you do. All right, you guys. So links coming soon in Facebook. I'm going to jump right back over it now to Instagram and do a quick highlight reel of what we talked about, because maybe you prefer to be on Instagram. But thanks for joining me on Facebook Live. Surya, Robert, it looks like we have Guido. It looks like we have BB. Welcome, welcome. I'm going to jump over to Instagram now and give a highlight reel. But again, this has been How to Blog Without Writing. If you're interested in the course I mentioned, Live Show Mastery, go ahead and send me a private message, or you can go to my Facebook page, just hit refresh, and you can actually see the sign up button right there to find more information. Of course, I'll link to it in the comments, in the description. Cool beans. If you're listening to me elsewhere, if you're watching me elsewhere, thank you, thank you. Subscribe. Jumping now over to Instagram. Guys, thanks for watching. And thanks for your ideas. Happy vlogging. Happy podcasting. And I'll see you soon. All right. See you on Instagram.